Westfield Memorial Hospital provides high-quality health care to residents of Western New York, offering patients the most sophisticated medical advancements while keeping the ease and familiarity of a community hospital. Support for Chautauqua Sunrise has been provided by WRFA 107.9 FM, Jamestown's public radio station, streaming online 24/7 at WRFALP.com. Low power to the people. Chautauqua Sunrise is made possible by a grant from Fredonia Place, a continuing care retirement community providing dignity in a modern luxury environment. Meter's Restaurant, a family tradition for over 50 years in downtown Ripley, is a proud supporter of Chautauqua Sunrise. Meter's provides all-day dining, banquet services, and custom catering, specializing in pie. Funding for Chautauqua Sunrise is provided in part by the Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency, with offices in Jamestown and Dunkirk, helping businesses to prosper throughout Chautauqua County. From supporting people with disabilities to enjoy great lives, to providing health care services that are available to anyone, the Resource Center has been improving our county for more than 60 years. Learn more about how the Resource Center makes a positive difference in people's lives. From the Access Chautauqua Studios in Mayville, it's Chautauqua Sunrise. Chautauqua Sunrise is hosted by Doc Hamels and supported by the award-winning volunteers at Access Chautauqua. We are here to share local news, colorful interviews, and events of interest to everyone. Chautauqua Sunrise is broadcast live Saturday mornings each week from 9 to 10 a.m. Send events via email or call us live. Check us out on YouTube and Facebook. And now, from the Access Chautauqua Studios, it's Chautauqua Sunrise.
Morning, everybody. I'm Doc Hamels still. Thanks for joining us. Wow, weather sure has changed, hasn't it? I was just telling the guys when we were in Texas a couple of weeks ago, it was 107 degrees, and this morning was 61. And do the math, that's like 46 degree swing. No wonder my body is crazy right now. Woo! It's always nice to come back to allergy season. Well, I hope you're all doing well. It's going to be a kind of a drippy, kind of a soggy weekend a little bit. So, but that shouldn't keep you from doing the things here in Chautauqua County. And we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things that are going on this weekend. Well, let's start out as I should properly do every week. Good morning for those of you that are watching us live right now as we stream around the world. Good morning to all my good friends in the Ukraine. Hang in there, hang in there, hang in there. We know what's going on. We're thinking about you, and I know that we all support the efforts that are going on for you as you do what you got to do there. And I'm not going to get political here, but Natalia and friends. Okay, also I want to say good afternoon to all my listeners on WRFA 107.9, Low Power to the People in Jamestown. Thanks for listening. Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Also remember, you can watch us forever and ever and ever on YouTube. And if there's something that you say, oh, what was that he said again? Not me, but my guests, because they're the ones that say the important things. You can catch us on YouTube and on Twitter. I finally looked up myself on Twitter, and what's it called now? X marks the spot. All right, I got to keep up on all this stuff. Anyways, and also, for those of you that are watching, if you wanted to rewatch this again, because you're watching it for perhaps streaming live off of Facebook, but you can go to Spectrum 1301, channel 1301, and we're on at 2 and 8, right? You would think I would know this all these years, but I can't even watch myself on TV because we're up in the hills of Ripley and we don't have cable TV up there. So, all right. So, also, because we're live, you can call us. Why would you call us? You say, oh, here he goes again. Well, we have a new guest today who's never been on the show, and we're going to be talking about something that maybe you grew up with here in Chautauqua County, because I know that some of you did, or you might know somebody that's involved with junior achievement. Okay? So there's a blast from the past for some of you that were involved when you were kids or young adults. So how do you talk to my guest today? 716-753-5225. And don't be bashful. We can't see you on TV. We can hear you, but we can't see you, so who cares? So if you have a question or comment or you have a good memory of junior achievement, give us a call. Why else would you call? You know, Linda Spalding calls in once in a while, and she always talks about a fundraiser for the Lions Club, or someone might remark that they're doing a special chicken barbecue as a benefit, things like that. It's free of charge. You don't have to pay to do an ad here. We're happy to do it as long as it's a community-related event, okay? So there you have it. It's cooled off some, like I said, and I noticed since I've been back that the leaves are starting to turn. The grapes are turning purple, so you know what that means. Grape harvest season in just a couple of weeks from now. Can't wait for that. My grapes, I've got different kinds of grapes in my house, and they're slowly turning. I keep testing them, Justin, but they're still pretty sour. We got another week or two yet, and then just in time for you to have a snack. Okay, let's see. Farmers markets are bursting at the seams right now. There's one here in Mayville, Thursdays from 1 to 5, I believe. That's the times they told me. I got to remember all this stuff. It's hard to believe I can keep all this stuff between my ears. Saturday mornings at Jamestown, right down there, or in Westfield. All three are great farmers markets. You got Amish baked goods, you got local farmers, you got produce, meats and cheeses, and artisans and things like that. So get out there, support the local folks. These people, that's what they do for a living, and let's support our neighbors. So a lot of those markets are going on right now, and it's a lot of fun. Okay. Then I've got an announcement here to share with you that I'm going to be part of something really cool. I've never done this before. I've done a lot of crazy things, but this is going to be a little different. I'm going to portray a gentleman. I'm not going to tell you who it is because I want you to go see it. A 100-year-old gentleman from Westfield. He was a very distinguished gentleman back in the early 1900s, he was actually into the 1800s, just about the whole century. He was 100 years old before he passed away, and I'm going to be portraying him in a cemetery tour in Westfield on September 22 and 23. So I'm really stoked about that because many of you know that I do get involved with the Lakeshore Center for the Arts Theater Group and music and productions and all that stuff. So that's coming up, and I think if you just go to Lakeshore Center for the Arts website, it tells you all about the tickets and that sort of thing. So it sounds really a lot of fun. I'll tell you more about it next week. All right, let's see, what else? There are still festivals going on. This time of year, we've got the grape festivals, we got music festivals, you've got wine festivals and things like that. So if you're just visiting Chautauqua County, this place is still booming and still alive, lots of music going on and so forth. And we'll be talking more about those as we go along. So I have some announcements to share with you because I want to make time for my guest that's anxiously awaiting to come on here. Here we go. All right, Chris, here we go. Monthly media campaign from our friends at Prevention Works, okay? And they want me to share this with you. It's that time again where it's back to school. We hope everyone had a fun and safe summer. Our prevention educators and PACS coaches are looking forward to being back in the classrooms with all their amazing students. It's really never too early to start talking with your child about the dangers of substance abuse, and many small conversations are more effective and easier than one big talk. You know, I remember my dad having the talk with me and my brother, you know, when we were growing up, and he was sweating bullets. It would have been a lot easier if he just did a little pieces. Anyways, find moments every now and then to connect and talk about substance abuse and addiction or anything else about growing up. There are many great discussion guides, videos, and printed materials that can be utilized to help spark meaningful conversation about substance use at any age. Always remember to listen and encourage a two-way conversation. So here's some tips. Encourage conversation. Don't lecture, just listen. Encourage children and teens to share their thoughts and feelings about whatever issue you're discussing. Listen and respond thoughtfully to their concerns. Avoid questions that have a simple yes or no answer to start a meaningful dialogue about substance abuse and addiction. I always ask why, when, where type things, not yes and no. You say, well, do you think drugs are bad? Yes. And then there's this great silence. So you might say, what do you think about drugs? Or do you think that's something, tell us, why someone would be involved or whatever. And, get the discussion going, not yes and no questions. Show respect to your child's point of view. Okay, acknowledge their feelings in a constructive way. Don't respond with anger or judgment. Don't do that, it's terrible. It will make them more likely to listen to you and respect your point of view. Focus efforts on teaching children what to do as opposed to what not to do. All right. I used to tell my kids, if you get yourself into a situation where they're doing drugs or alcohol, here's some things you could do. Whether it's call me, politely leave, just say no, all those kinds of things. So give them some tools. Don't hide a family history of issues with substance use or addiction. The truth is important. When you feel they're ready, address your family history and experience with drugs or alcohol. It doesn't have to be uncomfortable. Drawing from our past experiences can be powerful in a teaching moment. My parents were very open about some of my relatives about alcohol, and I talked to my kids about alcohol. And there's a prevalence of people over drinking, and my kids listen to me, and we try to be careful with that. So, anyways, we're not perfect people, and kids should know if there's a genetic disposition to any of those things. Maybe that's why they would be inclined to do it. So think about it. All right, we got a slide 15, events. Okay, I'm not sure. There it is. Wowza. Fire, Lights, Music, and Art Festival. That's today and tomorrow. So September 9. Is that today? Yep. Tomorrow at the Heron Farm and Event Center over in Sherman on Watts Corners Road. So that's called the Fire, Lights, Music, and Art Festival. It's back for its third year at the beautiful Blue Heron Grounds, which has been home to festivals for over 30 years. The weekend is filled with music, flow art performances, and one-of-a-kind art installations in this iconic venue that has a long history of bringing people together for unforgettable experiences. Then, the Red, White, and Blues Festival. That sounds cool. That's today. That's going to be in Fredonia, the Barker Commons Park. They invite you to visit the village of Fredonia during the Red, White, and Blues Festival to get a taste of one of the best small towns in western New York. Join them for this rocking 2-day music festival. Evidently it started last night, celebrating the local red and white wine industry from the surrounding area, and hear some awesome blues-style music. Barker Commons will be filled with various food trucks, wineries, and tons of craft and direct sell vendors. I told you with stuff going on. Septemberfest, today and tomorrow, at Merritt Estate Winery over in Forestville. They invite you to join them this weekend for their 41st annual Septemberfest, sponsored by Tall Chief Territory, home of Native Pride. This family-friendly event is free to attend and will feature your favorite Merritt wines, great food, craft vendors, live music, a classic car show, holy cow, Chevette's Chicken Barbecue, one of my favorites, a bounce house, I'll skip that, a balloon artist, and a whole lot more. Bands performing this year include Twisted Lid, Black Widow, Throwback Jack, Midnight Recovery, and their Saturday night headliner, the Fleetwood Mac Experience. Wow, I love that music. Festival hours are Saturday, today, 12 to 10 o'clock tonight. Tomorrow, Sunday, from 12 to 6. Okay? And they ask you to refrain from bringing your own food and beverages to the event. And then I mentioned the Westfield Farmers Market right now, and Artisan, I should say Farmers and Artisans Market. That's today from 9 to 2, right there in Moore Park. Voted number 1 in New York State, vegetables and eggs and meats and natural foods, artisan crafts and more. The market runs Saturdays through September 30th. October will have a market dependent on the weather. The market runs each Saturday from 9 to 2. Moving along, number 16, the magic of Motown. When I was growing up, Motown was huge up in Buffalo, and we listened to all that music. It was great. This high-energy homage to the legends of Motown will transport you back in time as you visit the very best of Hitsville, USA. The show features a cast of 15 powerhouse vocalists who embody everyone from Diana Ross and the Supremes and Marvin Gaye and the Jackson 5. The show has received rave reviews and sold out theaters throughout its highly acclaimed tour. A highlight of the show includes an extensive set of your favorite Temptations choreography and songs. I remember when we were kids, we always tried to imitate the Temptations with all the hand spinning and the move jives and all that stuff. Accompanied by a 6-piece band with horns in their songbook delivers all your favorite hits like Ain't No Mountain High Enough to Midnight Train to Georgia. Ooh, Gladys Knight and the Pips. Creative director, Miss Martha Brogdon, whose credits include the national tour of Dreamgirls and the highly acclaimed Legends of Jazz, describes this show is simply dynamic and loaded with talent. All right, so what do we got to do here? This music has transcended generations and will continue to do so. I'm trying to get to the end here. The Reginald Lene Center for the Arts is located over in Jamestown. The show starts at 7:30. Tickets are on sale at thereginaldlene.com or by calling 484-7070. And it's done by Moxie Events Production. All right, moving along. 4-H, first leaf class of the season, homemade applesauce. I like to talk about this because we talk about local vendors. Well, these guys tell you what to do with some of the local produce. The Cornell Cooperative Extension of Chautauqua County's 4-H program is getting ready to start the Leaf Junior classes back up after a long summer and fair season. LEAF stands for Learn, Empower, Achieve, and Farm. Series was created to focus on beginning farming and homesteading topics for adult learners. LEAF Junior will offer similarly styled classes that cater to youth ages 5 to 19. The event will take place Thursday, September 28, coming up, at the Patterson Library right down the road in Westfield. Participants will wash, peel, cut, boil, and mash their own apples into applesauce. This will be free to all youth with an optional $5 donation to the program. So that's going to happen right here. Please remember, you do not need to be enrolled in 4-H. You interested in going? Give Lauren a call at 716-326-2154. Okay, so that sounds like fun. I make my own applesauce from my own trees every year, so that's really cool. Next one, I'm really sad to talk about, okay? This is my old buddy, Don Reinhout. A tribute banner to Don Reinhout, the gentle giant who graduated from Fredonia Central School in 1963, will be unveiled by the Fredonia Central School Athletic Department in coordination with the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame. You know all these folks, they're always on the show here. At halftime, the Fredonia's home football game against Southwestern, September 15th at 7 at the Orange Bowl. The banner will be permanently displayed on a wall in the Fredonia Gymnasium. Reinhout tragically died, as many of you know, in a car crash on July 3rd at the age of 78. The death sent a shockwave throughout Chautauqua County. A 7-time world's strongest man, the holder of multiple powerlifting records and titles, an inductee of 8 Halls of Fame, including the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame, Don was a legend in the sports history of his home. Reinhardt was also a larger-than-life figure to thousands of Chautauqua County children who were mesmerized by his feats of strength and his equally powerful motivational messages delivered during his 25-year tenure as director of Chautauqua County's Youth Bureau. Prior to the football game, friends of Big Don are invited to reminisce and share stories at an informal get-together at Old Main in Fredonia. The social event starts at 5 o'clock. Don and I have known each other for a long, long time, and he was on our show a few years ago, so we really miss Don. All right, this next one's kind of interesting. This is a new one to me. Bills 50-50. Enter to win and support the Northern Chautauqua Community Foundation. If you've ever been to a Bills home game, you know how popular the 50-50 raffle is. The foundation has teamed up with the Bills Foundation to give you a shot at winning the jackpot, even if you can't be at the game. Even better, when you purchase your raffle tickets using their unique link, your purchase will benefit the foundation's community funds, which support our community grants, local economic development, and nonprofit capacity building. The Bills Foundation has guaranteed a minimum jackpot, listen to this, of $200,000. The winner will be drawn during the Bills home opener on September 17th. So go to the Northern Chautauqua Community Foundation's website, and there it is that you can buy tickets. You can get 50-50 tickets online. That's kind of a new thing. So support the foundation, because they support all of our projects here in Chautauqua County, especially in the northern part. Okay, and finally, the Red Lemonade season is now on sale for coming up. And I'm not going to go through great detail on these because they'll be coming up later. But you've got Illuminate on November 3rd. You've got the Wizards of Winter on December 8th. The Circa Mechanics Zephyr, January 26th. The Animaniacs in concert on March 2. And if you're interested, buy your tickets now because they're going to go quick. 484-7070 if you want to buy tickets. All right, with that, I'm going to be quiet for a little bit, and we're going to go to a break, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
You know, the best thing about doing this show is meeting somebody for the first time and interviewing them, because I don't know anything about them or anything about what we're going to talk about, and that gives me the opportunity to really hone my interview skills. Growing up, I remember Boy Scouts, and I remember Girl Scouts, and I remember other little organizations or major organizations for youth to participate in. I remember coming to Chautauqua County and learning that there were organizations that the Masonics organizations would have, whether it was Day Molay or they had constellations, or there were other organizations through church groups and all that sort of things, CYOs and things like that. When I talked to people here over the years, this was one of the organizations that they did remember, and that was Junior Achievement. I want to welcome to the show John Crawford from Junior Achievement of Western New York.
Than's for having me.
You made it all the way here from Williamsville.
It's not that. It's always a great drive. I appreciate you having me.
Well, absolutely.
Thank you.
So I was talking this morning. I couldn't even remember how we got involved. I think it was my niece Jennifer, right?
It was your niece Jennifer, yeah, who I met in kind of a roundabout way. And
Right.
she's a terrific person. I spoke to her recently, and we just got to talking about activity down in Chautauqua County, and she mentioned you. She mentioned your dad, who would be your brother, I suppose.
Yeah, Bob. He watches the show. I bet he's watching right now.
Good. And she just, my uncle does a TV show down in Chautauqua County. Do you think he might be interested in doing it? I said, yeah, sure. I love doing this kind of stuff. So, yeah, I appreciated her introduction.
So Junior Achievement has been around since 1919. I did a little bit of homework. And I do know it was in the county here. And now I'm going on the limb right now. The term JCs, is that involved with Junior Achievement, or is that something totally different?
It might have been back in the day. I'm not familiar with that.
Okay.
But yeah, back in the day, Junior Achievement for decades was a program called the Company Program. And it does still exist. We do less of it here in Western New York, but it was for the most part an after-school program. So folks of our era, right, that's a Junior Achievement that they remember.
Yeah.
So kids would come in September into high school, and they'd sign up for the club. They'd get a faculty advisor. They'd get advisor or mentor from out in the community, probably a few of them actually. And then they would actually create a business. So they had to develop a product. They had to make a product. They had to figure out how to sell it. As a matter of fact, the executive director of Junior Achievement USA, we're actually part of an international organization. There's a Junior Achievement USA. A guy by the name of Jack Kozakowski, that's how he got his start in Junior Achievement. They developed the product. I can't remember what it was, but his job was to go door to door to sell the product.
Yeah.
And that went on for decades. There still is actually a national competition that kids could get into, and they could win a national recognition for their product and the amount of money that they made. And then they would just dissolve the business at the end of the year and come in September again and create it all over with some of the same, but certainly more kids. But we've evolved quite a bit since then.
So who's John Crawford? Where do you come from? What'd you do?
Yeah, so who's John Crawford? I'm from Western New York. I went to Lancaster High School. Very briefly, I did a stint in the Army. Then I went to Penn State, and got my graduate degree from UB, and have been in Buffalo really ever since. So my background is in advancement, so fundraising, alumni relations for colleges. I've been a not-for-profit guy. I actually was the executive director of Campfire Boys and Girls. That might be another class in the past
yes,
as well in
yeah.
Western New York.
Wow.
I'm not sure that that was a while ago. I'm not sure that Campfire even exists nationally anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember hearing it when I was growing up.
Yeah, it was much bigger back then, and it was Campfire Girls for a while. There was Brownies and Bluebirds, and then it became Campfire Boys and Girls and did different things.
You're in a
and
tough world of not-for-profit.
It's difficult, but I'll tell you what, I wouldn't change a thing.
Good for you.
Right? Yeah, I'm a Buffalo guy. I enjoy doing this kind of work. So anyway, most recently I was at a local college. I was on the board of Junior Achievement. For 6 years, I was chairman of the board for 3 years, and then my friend Lori Mahoney, she was the executive director. Good for Lori, she retired. And the board was naive enough to bring me on because I just love the organization so much, and I think.
So now your title is executive director?
My title's president.
President.
I'm not quite sure why. It's an executive director role. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean it's a paid position.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. A lot of us do a lot of things that are not paid.
Maybe when I'm in your shoes, I can afford to do it for free. I'd love to be in that position. I would do it.
Yeah, okay. So you're from Lancaster originally?
Originally, I'm in Williamsville now.
Oh, you're in Williamsville.
Yeah.
Okay, and I don't think I told you, I'm a Buffalo kid originally.
Yeah, what high school did you go to?
Canisius.
Did you? Yeah, good for you. Good for you.
And I grew up near the Buffalo area, or the Buffalo Zoo, things like that in that area.
It's a great neighborhood.
So you said you were associated with Madai.
I was, yeah. Sadly,
They just closed, right?
They did, yeah. August 31st was their last day.
Wow.
We could talk about that all day. I was a vice president at Madai for 10 years, a terrific school with just, I think, the best people in the world. And we did a lot of really good work for some really good students, terrific kids. And, in the end, the demographics are what they are.
Yeah.
And, you can read the paper and get different interpretations of what happened. And
it's just a lot of competition out there right now.
there's a lot of competition for fewer and fewer students,
Yeah. I just point that out because I like to know a little bit more about your background.
Yeah.
So were you in Scouts or Campfire Boys?
I was not, but I was big in CYO. You mentioned CYO. So back that was at Sacred Heart in Bowmansville. Not too far from
That's
where
on
we're
Main
at
Street,
now.
right?
Sacred Heart's on Genesee.
Okay, I'm thinking of Holy Spirit or one of those.
Could be, yeah.
I don't know. Those all those.
I think there's a Main Street in Bowmansville where the fire hall lives. It's right around the corner from Sacred Heart.
Okay.
But I was really, if I recall, I was president of CYO at Sacred
I was
Heart
involved with
for a couple
CYO
years.
for a while. Yeah.
It was we did all sorts of stuff. We were very, very active. We played. There was fast pitch softball. That was a ton of fun. There was a really high-end basketball, CYO basketball league, volleyball leagues. We did all of that. And they had a cotillion too, or a big conference with a cotillion.
Yeah.
Up in Niagara Falls, and there were thousands of kids. I did that for a couple, 3 years at least.
Nice. And the things we're talking about right in the beginning here initially, they were organizations that we belonged to. I was involved with Scouting for over 25 years.
Yeah.
But it was bringing kids together to do activities that were life skills.
Yeah.
And those organizations are still around, but I know that many of those organizations are struggling for people to participate because of the nature of technology and the way kids associate nowadays. Am I right?
I think that would be correct. Struggling means different things, I think, for different organizations. I think I always like to look at the glass as being half full, right?
Or it's a challenge or something like that.
It can be a challenge. Finances are always a challenge. Getting volunteer, and we are very volunteer-based, right? So Junior Achievement kind of sits at the intersection of education development, youth development, and economic development, right? So we help kids explore what's possible for them. We help kids really figure out what they're about and get on the right path to pursue their own interests and create fulfilling careers for themselves, their families, and really contribute back to their communities. That's what Junior Achievement's all about. We play a big role with schools for the most part in Western New York. We place work and career readiness programs, entrepreneurship programs, and financial literacy programs, K through 12. And we're doing more work in the 16 to 24-year-old space, as is Junior Achievement USA. As a matter of fact, we partnered with a few other JA areas. There's 102 areas like Western New York in the country. We partnered with a few other areas in JA USA on a Department of Labor grant, which just yesterday we found out we were awarded. And that's to do work really outside of the school districts for 18, 16 to 24-year-olds who might be a little bit disengaged in rural communities. I've talked to some people in Chautauqua County about doing that work. So that's that's kind of the business model. Most of what we do is school-based during a regular classroom period when we partner with teachers, principals, superintendents, and we figure out what courses they want for their kids and we provide them. Back to your question, because it was a question about challenges, right? One of the best things about Junior Achievement is the fact that we put folks from the community. And it could be corporate representatives of other not-for-profits, people like you, in the classroom with the kids. So we've got terrific curriculum, but I think the most valuable part is that it's community people, not just the teachers that are working with the kids.
So they're like mentors type thing?
Well, mentors might not be quite the word. When I think of mentoring, I think of more of a long-term experience, right? So it's really classroom instruction. So at elementary school, it's typically 5 classrooms, sessions, periods. Middle school would be 6. High school would be typically 7. So the volunteers come in and teach. The challenge is getting the volunteers to do it. And prior to COVID, frankly, it was a lot easier. And just kind of the nature of volunteering is changing now. People are more and more busy. So that part is challenging. We've got a lot of terrific people coming in the class, a lot of really committed people. A lot of really committed people in Chautauqua County. I'd start to name them, but I'd miss some. I wouldn't want to do that, right? And a lot of really committed companies. So I see we have some pictures of Junior Achievement in action in the classroom. That's, I'm not quite sure who the volunteer is.
That's
there.
okay.
Yeah, but that's a volunteer, and he's got some Junior Achievement stuff. It's very interactive. It can be very digital, and he's working with the kids. So you can see they're in a classroom. The experience is regular classroom period, right? 35, 40 minutes. So that gentleman probably cut loose. I don't know, maybe it was lunchtime for him. Took 5 minutes to drive to the school, taught for 35, 40 minutes, 5 minutes back. So it really is a pretty easy thing to do. Junior Achievement makes it very easy. There's some training for all the volunteers. I've done a ton of teaching myself. So there's a kit and different reference materials, and everything's kind of spelled out for you. So I would spend a half hour the evening before getting ready. And the more you teach, the easier it is, right?
Here's another shot of some children sitting at a table. And I want to describe this a little bit for my listeners on the radio. We got the typical classroom. We got 3 kids sitting around a table. Looks like they're working at some kind of a project here. And then the prior picture, there was a gentleman presenting, looked like on a TV, large screen TV or a whiteboard or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Okay. So here in Chautauqua County, where are you involved at this point?
Yeah, so I was glad that you were looking at notes. I'm going to look at mine, right? We, Cassadaga, this past year, Cassadaga schools, Jamestown schools, Frewsburg, Falconer, Dunkirk, Fredonia. We were in those school districts.
Really?
Yeah, so we, we like to be in as many school districts as we can. We've got good relationships with different people in those districts. One of the things, I spent some time, I've been in this position for about a year. I spent some good time in Jamestown. We struck up a really nice relationship with Leslie Melquist, who's a principal at Jefferson Middle School. And I think that every kid in that school, every student in that school got Junior Achievement this year.
Wow.
So, and it's very, that's a good age too. We're in the middle of a strategic planning process. And a lot of our stakeholders thought that middle school age, particularly when it comes to work and career readiness, is just a critical age. So we were able to do that for kids in that middle school and other middle schools across Chautauqua County.
I couldn't agree with you more. Middle school is where to do these kinds of things. You talk to a 5-year-old and, well, they're dreamers, but they don't really have a grasp on what the future is. And then when you get to the teenagers, The older guys, they've already kind of made up their minds, or they're maybe not tuned in as well. But the middle schoolers, they're still kind of open. They're kind of anxious to hear what you have to say, and I taught that age group, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And they're willing to try some things,
I think so. Yeah, I've taught middle school too. I think that is my favorite level to teach. Yeah, they're inquisitive. I don't know, for lack of a better way to put it, there's not too much attitude yet at that age.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of fun. It's interesting too that, we heard that from a lot of people. But more often than not, I hear from our corporate partners, people on our board, that they don't necessarily want, they need to put their company or their industry in front of kids at that age, because we just talked about kind of the declining number of young people in the community. That's only going to continue.
Yeah.
So when you look at economic development and junior achievement's role or potential role, right, putting all the opportunities that are available to them in their own backyard at that age, any age really, but it seems like that's kind of an important age. Is something that junior achievement's able to do.
In the public service, when I was giving announcements about talking to kids about drugs and stuff like that, to me it's the same thing. It's like if the people, whether it's parents or friends or teachers, we start talking to kids at that age group. What do you think? What your interests are? And even if they don't become rocket scientists in the end, we get them thinking in terms of themselves. And I think what I heard you say is getting them on their own path and looking at their skill set. And I mentioned that I had worked for BOCES for a long time, and I was in charge of 2 different technical centers. And one of the things that we would do is go out and talk to those 7th and 8th grade classes, or 6th grade, with our tech teachers, and dismiss or wipe out the myths about certain things.
Yep.
I used to call it the white collar lie, and I apologize to anybody that takes offense to this, but it was always go to college and get a job. That's not how it works. And the whole idea is start looking at it as a career path early on, then go to college or a 2-year tech program or even a certificate program, any one of those, and go into a field of study and a career path, as opposed to just jumping in and trying out things when it's too late. But to help them look at some ideas.
I think so. And it's interesting too that there's certainly in all the counties in Western New York and the region as a whole, there are priority industries that, frankly, we're all going to be hurting to a certain extent, right? Unless there's folks 5-10 years from now who are taking these jobs. And the industries generally, I think in Chautauqua County, manufacturing is one of some really good people in Manufacturing Alliance and Dream It Do It that are working on that.
Yep, I know those folks.
Yeah, they're terrific
Todd
folks.
Trainum and Company. Yep.
Exactly. And Melissa with Dream It Do It. And there's other folks working on the tourism industry and healthcare as well. Junior Achievement does play a role in all of that. Trades is another one. So we do some work with workforce investment in Genesee County, and they've got an effort, Glow with Your Hands. So Glow, I learned, is Genesee, Livingston, Orleans, and Wyoming County. Trades is big to them. Agriculture is big to them. So they spend a lot of time in probably K through 12, right, talking to the kids in the region about the opportunities that are going to be available to them. And those are important opportunities for the region as well. So it's not as if you want to pigeonhole kids, right? You want to make sure that a young person has access to all the different opportunities available to them, and they know about it. But when you're able to talk to a kid about a priority industry where there are definitely going to be jobs and good paying jobs, you can kind of have your cake and eat it too. You provide a nice service to the young person, and minimally you let the person know that these are big industries in the region and they're important to all of us, right?
I was thinking back when I was growing up how it was, and it was very clear to me that my parents did not want me to follow my dad's footsteps. And my dad's footsteps was he was a machine operator at General Motors, and he hated the job, and every day he went to work for 30 years and came home, I don't want to say angry, but not really happy guy. And the day he retired was the best day of his adult life for many years to come. And so they pushed me to do what I needed to do because I was whatever. They pushed my brother to go in his direction. And the funny thing is, my brother went into the trades and I went into college prep and became a teacher and so forth. But then later on we met. My brother actually ended up teaching at the college level, the trades.
Yeah.
And then I ended up being in charge of trades at the high school level. So it all kind of circles around, but do what you do well. And we need those adults, those not even mentors, but sometimes mentors, but guides to provide possibilities out there. Because, and this is where I want to go with this, with you, and I think you'll agree and you can expand on it. People say, oh, you don't want to be an auto tech because that's a greasy job and blah, blah, blah. You go to some of these places that are where they repair vehicles, it's like a sterile environment, and the guys are wearing jumpsuits and and they're working computers. They're not doing the old mentality of the grease monkey or whatever. So there's still that part of the job, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean, but people paint these jobs, or I always tell people, try to find an electrician, try to find a plumber, try to find a contractor, a carpenter. Those jobs, I mean, people are making good money in those fields.
Ton of money in those fields.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was teaching at my alma mater, Lancaster, a few years ago, and it was an entrepreneurship course, junior achievement. And I think there were juniors and seniors in the class. And I asked the class, okay, who here is interested in the trades? Not one hand went up.
Yeah.
And then I asked why, and they said exactly what you just said, Doc, that those are dirty occupations.
Why would I want to do that?
Why would I want to do that? So I enlightened them a little bit. I was in Cummins, terrific people at Cummins.
Yeah.
Yeah, they provide financial support, sponsorships for junior achievement and some volunteers. I got a tour of the plant, which was just the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, I've been there.
I didn't see any grease.
Nope.
And it was exactly what you described, right? It was almost a sterile-looking environment, a little noisy. We had our earphones on. But it was a great tour and just a terrific place. And there was a lot of people on computers, and I didn't see anybody slopping through the mud or having to deal with grease or anything like that. Very, very safety conscious, very clean.
Let me share something really quick. I mentioned my dad worked for General Motors, and I remember when I was a young kid, maybe 12, they had the plant tour. They did these every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I walked by where my dad worked, and he was very proud of what he did. But it was hot, and it was just grungy, dirty, hot, and I could see why my dad would come home and be really worn out. Push the time clock. 30 years later, my brother worked for General Motors, same plant. We went in there. Everybody was in khakis and in shirts with a little emblem, and there were robotics going overhead and parts, and it was air conditioned. And I'm going like, what a change! Right. Yeah. So there's something to be said for all that, and lots of opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely there is. And there's not enough young people interested in those types of careers, not enough young people interested in trades. I don't know, back in the day I used to work on my car. 5 years from now, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get anybody working on my car. It's a challenge, I think, for all of us. Even myself personally, I'm kind of on the same track, I suppose, as you. The trades was never part of the calculation for me. Nobody ever told me about it. I had a friend who went to BOCES. Mm-hmm. He was in the neighborhood. He retired years ago.
Yeah.
I just turned 59. We graduated together. He's probably one of the wealthiest kids, if not the wealthiest people in my graduating class, right? Yeah. He was always tinkering, always working on lawnmower engines, doing different things. He moved to Denver. I think he started it was a collision shop. Then he opened another one, and he's very, very successful. That doesn't happen, in anybody's world all that often. But even me, after the kids started growing up, and I had more time to work on the house and do my own thing. I got into woodworking a little bit. Really enjoy it. I made a pair of speakers. I taught myself how to make speakers. I did an online course. Really enjoyed it. So when I'm retired, that's what I want to do. Now, I've had a really good career, very fulfilling. I'm not sure that I would change a thing, but if somebody had said, when I was 13, John, we took shop and they called it industrial arts.
Right, I remember,
We took that, and I was never really into it but I was never really oriented to it. It was something that I was made to do, right? And I remember I made a little car, and it kind of went, but it wasn't really all that great. Had I just taken it, somebody said, just give it another shot, take it to the next level, my career might be completely different because I really enjoy doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Growing up, my brother was my dad's right-hand man when it came to doing things around the house.
Yeah.
And they used to give me the flashlight to hold the flashlight and hold the ladder, and they called me the butcher.
The butcher. Yeah.
What a title to have when you're 12 years old, the butcher. So I got turned off to that because they were like the guys, but years later I ended up, doing a lot of work at my house, and I dabble on electricity. I don't do plumbing and carpentry and things like that. I'm not a finished carpenter. I'm a rough carpenter. But yeah, and so I was the guy. My brother would be here, I'd be here, and he would work on something, and he'd put it all together, and brrr, off it goes. I put something together, and I had parts left over.
That's always kind of dangerous. I did that to my lawnmower one time, and I took it in, and I ended up just leaving it with the guy.
Please take care of this.
But I think, and again, it's not our job. Our job is to enlighten young people, right, and let them know what the
those are our
opportunities
strengths.
Yeah,
we're not going to put the machine together, but we'll get the people to show you how to do it.
What are your strengths? What kind of path do you see for yourself? And help them along. And it kind of is all our responsibility, right, to make sure young people know of all the opportunities that are available to them, which is tough. The counselors in the high schools and middle schools, they don't have a lot of bandwidth to do that kind of thing. And that's where organizations like Junior Achievement come in.
So let's go back to the roots of Junior Achievement. Okay, so why was it even started? I mean, 1919, Boy Scouts was just in its infancy. Girl Scouts was in its infancy. Rotary, I'm a Rotarian, was in its infancy.
Yeah,
so I mean,
that.
That seemed to be a time or an era where a lot of that was happening. So enlighten me on that, could you?
Yeah, so back in those days, if you remember our history lessons, the Industrial Revolution was really starting to take shape. There were more and more companies sprouting up all over the place. Large corporations were beginning to really get their wits about them. There's a lot going on. So Junior Achievement originally had a lot to do with American competitiveness, right? Just the idea, and it was, generally speaking, the company program back then. So there were people who just wanted to give kids an opportunity, enlighten them about the entrepreneurial world around them and how businesses were started and how they could fit into the American dream, right? And it's a good thing. And that basically was Junior Achievement for decades and decades until we started getting into financial literacy and work and career readiness and different types of things with different types of programs. But a lot of it had to do with just building the American economy, increasing American competitiveness, and helping young people fit into the American dream, right?
I just put a note and circled it on my paper because I want to make sure I get back to it. So now I'm there, and then we'll run your video, okay?
Oh, yeah, okay. That's
so let's have a little plan here. So you said financial, what was it called?
Financial literacy.
Literacy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'll sit around and I'll be listening to people at a restaurant or wherever, and they'll say, nowadays kids can't understand how to do their own checkbook or, da 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 da.
Yeah.
Well, they were saying that when I was a kid too. So they say, well, schools should be doing this and schools should be doing that, and they don't understand that the curriculum that schools have to provide is just cram full of stuff.
Cram.
And some of the stuff gets squeezed out. So I could easily see where Junior Achievement could really come to the aid of schools and help kids out. Yeah. So when you say financial literacy, what do you mean by that?
Everything that we have to think about to assume our careers, to have our families, to know how to live comfortably within our means, basically, right? Everything that's associated with that. Right. So if you think about just one small aspect, affording college or some type of schooling after high school, right? Well, what are the costs associated with that? What is a student loan about? What do you have to know when you go into debt to either start a business or to go to college? And that's just a small piece of it, right? So we teach kids all of those things, and maybe more to the point, just how to think about it and the fact that, you gotta concern yourself with that kind of thing. And maybe you get the first job, you start making a little bit of money, you get married, you have kids, right? What's a mortgage? What's a credit card? How do you handle and think about all of those things? How do you think about your kids' future, if you want to help them out? Everything that's associated with living comfortably within your means so that you don't get yourself in trouble, basically.
Oh, gosh, yes.
So that's all sorts of things. And, it's not as if we cover everything. There might be a couple full semester junior achievement courses in financial literacy where we get into a lot more detail, but we explore it all. It's important. And it's lacking, it's always been lacking. Some states mandate financial literacy. New York does not yet. There is talk in Albany about doing it. Actually, Albany's looking at different things with respect. You probably know more about this than I do.
I've been out of the loop, though.
Yeah, with respect to sort of shifting graduation requirements.
Right.
But financial literacy is a big part
It's
of that
huge,
conversation.
huge.
Yeah. And junior achievement does assume that responsibility in other states. They're providing the financial literacy where it's required by the state. For some schools, not all of them,
Okay,
of course. Yeah.
so I'll give you one little story and then we're
Yeah.
going to see the video. So my oldest son, Scott, came up to me one day and I was working on something and he said, Dad, I want to buy a car. And I looked at him
That's great.
and I said, great. And I went back to doing what I was doing. And he stood there like waiting for some answer that was going to come on high. And he finally said, I want to buy a car. And I go, okay,
Yeah.
great. And then I took time and I said, what's your plan? He didn't have a plan.
Right.
I said, when you come to me, have a plan of how you want to buy the car. A week later, he came back. I said, I'm going to work as a lifeguard. I'm going to put my money aside, and I need $700, and I can do that over the next 3 months. And if you would forward me $150, I can buy this car. And when will you pay me back?
Yep.
Deal. And he bought his car.
Yeah.
Okay, so all my kids throughout the years, that was what we did, financial planning or literacy, and we explained things and so on and so on. So luckily my mom was one of those people that drilled it into me,
Right.
and I carried on. So
Right.
it was a generational thing, and sometimes we lose that the generational thing.
Yeah, it's tough for parents a lot of times to find the time to work with their kids on that. So Junior Achievement actually has a course about buying and owning a car. Yeah,
Okay.
it's one of the many courses.
All right, so I said we're going to do it, so let's
Yeah.
run that video, Chris. Thanks.
Imagine a world where no one explains the rules of the game. No practice, no game plan, no coaches. Just go out there and do your best, kid. But your best isn't good enough. Why? Because you are unprepared for the game. It's unfair, but nobody blames the player. They blame the circumstances. Now, imagine a world where no one explains the rules to the game of life. No discussions of how money works. No game plan for how education supports your future job or career. And certainly no coaching about how to start or run a business. Just go out there and do your best, kid. But your best isn't good enough. You're unprepared for the game. This time, though, people blame the player, not the circumstances. But there's no need to imagine this. It happens every day. Too many young people leave school without critical skills in financial literacy, work and career readiness, and entrepreneurship to reach their potential in life. And it costs all of us. Junior Achievement is working on leveling the playing field. But we can't do it alone. We need your support. Suit up. It's game time.
All right, that hit all the points we were talking
I think
about,
it
right?
did. Yeah, I
So,
think it did.
John, you're in all these schools. And I'm so pleased to hear that. You know, we worked with the Small Business Center out of Jamestown Community College when I was in charge of the Hughes Educational Center, and we were doing similar things. So do you work with the BOCES centers at all?
Yeah, we've got a good relationship actually with Erie too. We provide some courses for them. I've gotten to know Bill Smock pretty well. He's a P-Tech principal up there. I don't know if you know Bill.
No, I don't.
Yeah, we do provide some programs for P-Tech. I'll tell you a story. I can't remember the faculty person's name, but he's working on some trades with BOCES students. And one of them graduated with some welding expertise, started his own business. So over there, they got to thinking, well, cripes, we should be teaching our young people how to start our own businesses. So I think this year we're going to provide some entrepreneurship courses for them.
Yeah. And you know, it's one of those things. It's hard to get it started, and it's hard to keep it going. But I would encourage you to keep doing it, because that whole group is ripe for that sort of thing. Because
I think they are.
You know, and help them dream a little bit farther than where they're at. Chris reminded me we have some photos, and so maybe we'll zip through those, and then we'll get some contact information for people. What do we got here?
So we do a stock market challenge. It's terrific. It's a virtual stock market. So, gosh, I don't know the young man's name. From Falconer, he won a stock market challenge last year. Yeah, that's a good one. Bowl-a-thon. So one of our bigger fundraisers, that's at the bowling alley in Jamestown. I'm not quite sure what the company, we have multiple companies in Chautauqua County. They come down in March, bowl in Jamestown. It's a big fundraiser for us. It's a ton of fun. I would encourage
How come
everybody.
I don't know about these things? I could be advertising these things for you.
You will from now on.
All right.
Yeah, you will from now on.
Cool.
What else we have here?
Okay.
There's me.
There's you.
More bowl-a-thon. Rotary. That's a Falconer Rotary. So
super. I know those guys.
yeah, they're great guys. Yeah, they teach, I think, for us. They did the bowl-a-thon for us. We have a big presence. Falconer is actually one of the few school districts where we have junior achievement in multiple grade levels. So a kid would get a K through 5th at least in Falconer.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the Rotary Club. Great.
More bowl-a-thon.
We're still bowling.
You can tell the bowl-a-thon's a big event
I
for
see
us,
that.
right?
Keep coming.
Yep. They all might be bowl-a-thon, the rest of them. More bowl-a-thon.
Okay.
Yeah. This is Lexi Shosek there. She's a branch manager at Northwest in Jamestown.
Wow.
She's one of the inaugural members of our junior leadership board, which we're starting now.
And some more group shots?
More group shots.
And these are different businesses being involved with
All
the group?
different businesses.
Super.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
All right. And
more bowl-a-thon.
More bowl-a-thon.
There we go. I'm not sure. And they're from Independent Health.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have some
Insurance.
folks down here.
Okay, thanks, Chris. All right, well, we're down to about 2 minutes, John. So how about if people are listening, why would they want to contact you? How do they contact you, or should they contact you?
They should contact.
All right, how do they do that?
So I think the biggest thing is volunteers. We talked about that before, right? There's a QR code. Chris, can you put the QR code
Yeah,
up?
it'll pop it up. Yeah.
Okay. And if you go to that, that takes you to our volunteer page. There it is.
All right, so let's tell people how to do this. So if you have an iPhone
Right.
or whatever, you go to your photo picture, take a picture, and you go up on the screen of the TV, and you wait and click it, and it'll take you right to the junior achievement, right?
That is correct. Actually, that one goes to our volunteer page. Otherwise, just Google jawny.org. You'll get to our website, and you can make it. You can find out all about the programs, different things, and you can volunteer through there as well.
Okay, believe it
We'll
or
get
not,
right back to
I
you.
just did that on my phone, and there it is.
Volunteer now.
There it is. So
Pretty slick,
we
huh?
don't have to go in close, but it says volunteer now. So that's how fast it was. So
Yep.
if you see that on our show, just take your phone, take a picture, and it pops it right up.
And we'll get you going. You can set some terrific young people on their way to success.
All right. So is there a phone number, or do we just do websites
So
here?
you can just do the website. I think
Okay.
that's good. Yeah.
Okay. So you got half a minute. I'm going to be quiet. You tell people why they should be involved with Junior Achievement.
You know, I think Junior Achievement's a solution provider, and I think it sets young people on their way. It's very clear from the strategic plan and the questions that we're asking that kids need extra help finding about the opportunities in their own backyard. Kids need extra help with soft skills, which I was actually surprised at the number of people who thought that kids need more help than they're getting with their soft skills. And that's implicit, if not explicit, in all of our junior achievement programs. So we provide solutions for your community. We love coming down to Chautauqua County. Got some great partners down here. It's down here. It's it is all one big community.
It's okay.
I did drive an hour, but yeah, it's great, and we love working down here.
All right, super. Folks, you've been watching Chautauqua Sunrise. My guest today has been John Crawford, who is the President and Executive Director of Junior Achievement for Western New York. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely.
I hope to have you again. This is important stuff, guys. We talk about everything here in Chautauqua County. What better thing is to work with youth for the future? Because someone's got to take my job, and someone's going to take your job, and your job, and your job, and all those that are watching now. We got to raise our kids to do what we do, and even better than what we do. We're going to do this all again next Saturday morning right here on Channel 1301 Spectrum. Watch us again on YouTube, and watch us here on Spectrum 1301 at 2 and 8. Have a great week and enjoy all the great things that are going on in the county. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye now.